Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show, where we celebrate every single day the people who are working so hard to make Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. As you can tell, I feel better. I'm better. I guess I'm healed from my little COVID run. Spent about 4 days in the bed, and then 5 days in basically isolation. No one in my family wanted to get close to me, obviously, and then went up to spend some time up at the camp, but had a little congestion and whatever. But got up this morning, feel absolutely incredible. Ready to head back up to the Mississippi Delta to spend some time with my son Justin. We're going to spend several days up there. He's in town from New York City, and then then Jordan's going to join us, and my hunting son Jake Carter is going to be joining us, and have other friends they're going to be there. But it's great time of the year, man. Whether you enjoy hunting or fishing or just getting outside, nice cool air outside, just a wonderful time of the year. I actually got up this morning and posted a picture of the reflection of our Christmas tree in the window with Back Bay in the background, and just said it's that time of the year. It really is just a beautiful time of the year. Have a series of excellent shows coming up over the next week or two. So I'm really excited about that. We've had a string of just wonderful shows. I spent some time with my friend Jim Asher, Pulitzer Prize winner, who came to help us after Hurricane Katrina for Knight Ridder. He went on to have a stellar career in journalism, and he and I had a terrific conversation about the state of media today. Unfortunately, the conversation was good, but the subject matter, unfortunately, is not good because media is in a real state of disarray these days. A lot of biased media, et cetera. It breaks my heart coming from an area where objective journalism sort of defined my career, and it also defined my friend Jim Asher. If you actually missed that conversation, you can go to SuperTalk YouTube page or to the SuperTalk Mississippi Facebook page, the SuperTalk Gulf Coast Facebook page, or the Ricky Matthews Show Facebook page, and give it a listen. I had my friend Sonny Schindler back. I had Robbie D'Angelo is actually coming up. We're going to talk about the how to get right physically and mentally in the new year. I always enjoy when Robbie joins us. I had a wonderful conversation with Judy Young, the executive director of Coastal Mississippi Tourism. And for regular listeners, you know this, that was a big issue for me, as there was way too much dabbling going on in the Coastal Mississippi effort. But with good leadership and other efforts behind the scenes, I think we've turned a corner on that. We're moving in the right direction, and I'm excited about that. In fact, I've said this before. I believe there have been changes on the Harrison County Board of Supervisors, from a political point of view, as a result of some actions that were taken during the Coastal Mississippi tourism effort. In fact, my next guest, who's going to be joining me in just a few minutes, is one of the newly elected supervisors. But we'll come back to that in just a second. Had my friend Dave Dennis. Always enjoy catching up with Dave. Jeff Duncan from NOLA.com of the Times-Picayune. He'll be joining us again on Friday. We have him every single Friday to talk about the Saints. What a dynamic season it has been. In fact, I actually called Kyle from the Mississippi Delta just before the game Sunday and told him he's got to do a great job of playing music in the Superdome. I said this before, that when the music is great, they win. When they have a bad game plan, they lose. Kyle played great music, and the Saints had one of their best games yet. I can't wait to see if they're building some momentum. We will soon see Thursday night if the Saints have actually turned a corner or not. One quick quote to share with you. I was on the phone this morning with my friend Chris Gurris. He's an entrepreneur doing incredible work. Ashley Edwards, who used to be the CEO for the Gulf Coast Business Council, works closely with Chris these days. They have all kinds of stuff going on. But Chris is an entrepreneur, and he understands this next quote from Steven Spielberg. It said this: "All good ideas start out as bad ideas. That's why it takes so long." And I agree with that. I mean, some of the best entrepreneurs had an idea, and people looked at it and said, "Man, there's no way you're going to be able to make that work." And then they went on to do amazing things. I mean, if anybody understands that, Steven Spielberg understands that. He revolutionized movie making in Hollywood. That is for sure. But that's a good one to think about. Too often we're focused on criticizing others when they might have a bad idea, what you think is a bad idea, and then they go and make it happen, and they blow you away with how much success they had. You can learn from people like that. I mean, it pays to take risks in this world. That is for sure. Okay, let's turn the page now and move over to my friend Nathan Barrett, who is currently a city council member for Ward 7 in Biloxi, and he's the newly elected Board of Supervisors supervisor, and we're excited to have him join me today. How you doing, Nathan?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
I'm proud to have you, man, from right here at the Citizens Bank Studios. Something that I'm excited about, having Citizens Bank as a primary sponsor. You can see I have my Matthews Outdoors thing on. When I came into the studio this morning, it's kind of chilly, so I grabbed the nearest warm piece of clothing I could find, and I'm finally warm, I might add. But it was cold in here this morning. How you doing? How's life for you?
Well. Doing great. Doing great. Thank you.
So, man, you've been busy. We're going to talk about a lot. You got a wonderful family, a couple of kids. I joked with him that he's got a white couch in the background. He's got a beautiful designed house I can see in the background. His kids are college age though, but that'd never go if they were a little bit younger. His wife is a longtime education leader. She's actually a member of the State Board of Education. Again, I mentioned he's got two kids. They live in the Wool Market community, and he's got a consulting business. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. But, Nathan, we're lucky to live on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, aren't we, my friend?
We are. I one of the things I do, we were talking earlier about hunting. My thing is traveling, and I travel all over the world, and there's no place I'd rather live than right here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. It's good to go other places and visit, but there's no place like home, and we're truly blessed to live here.
I say this a lot, and I'm going to find a quote that I found the other day that I thought was terrific. I say this a lot. It's interesting about the people that I talk to on this show, and this doesn't apply to every single one of them, but if you think about over 900 conversations I've had since I started this show nearly 4 years ago, the vast majority, I say 90% better, have had experience outside of Mississippi. They've traveled outside of Mississippi. They've gained perspective. When they come back here, they worked away from Mississippi and came back, or they traveled a lot to gain perspective about how special this was. Now, look, they didn't have to travel to learn to know how special Mississippi was, but by going out and getting that perspective, it helped kind of crystallize the special place that we live in. And this is a quote from the anthropologist Margaret Mead. And I have a history that I get every morning with celebrating her birthday, which is back in 1901. But she said this: the traveler who has once been from home is wiser than he who has never left his own doorstep. And so what she's saying is that if you just get away one time outside the state and get a good experience and then come back, it has a way of giving you perspective. But what I hear mostly, Nathan, I'd be interested to hear your point of view about this, but what we have learned, what we have in the heart and soul of Mississippians, that's our secret sauce. That's why travelers come here. That's why we get so many visitors. That's why we're able to bounce back after major disasters. When the going gets tough, politics kind of go to the wayside, and we help our neighbor. And there's something about that people see, and that's what makes this place so special. That's sort of the theme of what I hear people say.
Yeah, you're right. And speaking of politics, at the end of the day, especially here on the coast, we're way more, even though there's different viewpoints and stuff, most people are way more alike than we are different. And I think instead of, like Ronald Reagan said, someone that doesn't agree with you 20% of the time is not your enemy, they're your friend. And I believe that for the most part, on the majority of the people here on the Gulf Coast are just great, salt of the earth people that will do anything for their neighbor. And, we're resilient people, and that's evident by all the stuff we've went through here on the coast. And we always do bounce back.
Yeah, we are incredibly resilient. That is for sure. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Ocean Springs. Graduated from Ocean Springs and moved to Biloxi right after I graduated. My parents moved here before me. I stayed to finish my senior year in high school, and my dad had to move over here for a job. And so I've lived here all of my adult life in Biloxi.
That's good. And like me and so many others, you went to Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. which for people who have not heard me talk about this, Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College leads in so many categories in Mississippi. Mississippi, almost religiously has one of the top community college systems in the entire country. So
Yes,
if Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College leads in Mississippi, that means that they're one of the best community college systems in the entire country, and that's on paper. That's not just a subjective view. That is for real. Boy, it prepared you well for your education at Southern Miss, didn't it?
yes, sir. And visiting those campuses now, it's a completely different world. It's like walking onto, especially when you go to the Perkinston campus, it's like walking onto a major college campus almost.
It is. And in fact, we'll talk a little bit more about that. And that's, formative years for both of us as we got a community college education and then went on to Southern Miss, and kind of the rest is history for both of us. But we'll hear more about your history when we come back from the break. And we continue our conversation with Nathan Barrett. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. We have Nathan Barrett with us today, someone I've been really looking forward to getting to know better. We've been communicating for quite a long time, and I was pleased to see that he was elected the new supervisor for Harrison County, one of the two new supervisors for Harrison County. He is currently on the Biloxi City Council, and we'll talk about all those things here in just a second. But went to break. We're talking about Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. We both went there, and we both went to Southern Miss. When I went to paramedic school, Nathan, right out of high school, and then was in pre-med for a period of time at Southern. And then I changed my major. I decided that death and dying wasn't for me. I saw a lot of it at a young age, and went on to get an MBA from Southern Miss. But the path took me back to Gulf Coast Community College, and then to Southern Miss, and I went on to do an internship at the Sun Herald, finished my MBA, and the rest was kind of history. I stayed at the Sun Herald for 27 years, becoming its president and publisher in 2001. But I look back at my time at Gulf Coast Community College as some of the most important times of my life, and we're lucky to have them. I mean, you think about this, that the way that you said, the way these campuses change, it looks like a full 4-year university. I think you're right, man. The leadership there thinks so strategically. And what they've done is, if you think about Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, more than 50% of their students today are in non-traditional education. I mean, they're doing diesel mechanic school, and some of these diesel mechanic positions, incidentally, you make over 6 figures coming right out of the 2-year training that they do. But they've been in touch with the business community. They're really kind of teaching the kind of skills, the current skills that business and industry need in coastal Mississippi. I mean, they're a best practice for our nation. And I know that you've had a lot of time to think about that, but the truth is they've done a great job strategically, haven't they?
They have. And, and it covers the whole entire coast, basically. You have the Jackson County campus, the Harrison County campus, and then the Perkinston campus. And so anyone that lives on the coast can attend Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. And they've just improved greatly. And even the coast campuses, I know the main campus is in Perkinston, but the coast campuses, they're always making improvements, bringing in new programs. And for those that don't have the opportunity to go off for their first 2 years, or for looking to get into a trade, it's a great avenue to have. And we're really blessed. And not just Mississippi Gulf Coast, the community college system in all of our state. We have several others that are relatively close to us as well. And it's a great, affordable education for those that don't go off to the 4-year college, especially the first 2 years.
Yeah, that's for sure. So you went on to Southern Miss. You're kind of entrepreneurial today with your own consulting firm. But when you got out of Southern Miss, what did you do for the majority of that time after that?
Well, I was a mortgage broker until the mortgage industry crashed in the early 2000s. And then I had always been involved in my church. I became a youth pastor, and eventually I went back to school, got my ministerial license, I was a youth pastor, became the assistant pastor. And then life sort of took some turns, and I started multiple businesses. I started another business as well, which I've now sold. It just got to be too much. And then I got elected to Biloxi City Council in 2017. And so I had to reevaluate some things, and my kids were starting to get older, and I wanted to be able to spend some more time with them. So I left the ministry as far as being full time in it in 2018. I was doing about 3 or 4 different things. And then 2018, we ended up opening this consulting firm. And that same year, we sold another business that I owned. I owned a supplement company that we shipped. It was an online company. We shipped to 50 states and 17 different countries. And we sold that in 2018. So now I'm into being involved locally on the political level, and then my consulting firm, and that's it. And a father and husband.
Good for you. Hey, did you always? I know I study you a little bit. You spend a lot of time volunteering your time. I always felt like that was really important. That when a person engages in the trenches and gives back to the community, it gives them a sense of the community. It gives them a sense of where the needs are. And it makes them a better leader in the community. It makes them a better business person, makes them a better father, to be honest with you, because you can understand what the needs are in a community. And I think that's really important. Where did that come from? Where did this service thing come from?
It's from my parents. My parents have always been the type of people that would do anything to help anyone. And my father was a minister as well. And I started getting involved in my community. We moved to Wool Market when both of my children were basically babies. And my wife taught at Wool Market Elementary, which is, I think, the oldest school building in maybe Mississippi. I'm not positive, but I think so. She taught out here for about 15 years, and it's a small, close knit community. And so through that, I started getting involved in the PTA, coaching youth league sports, and then seeing the needs of other things in the community is what ultimately led me to run for office in 2017.
So you ran for office, and I think I wish more people would run for office. I mean, it'd be a better world if we had more competition, more vision, more experience, and it was great watching you sort of take that dive into politics. And I tell you what, being on the city council is a great opportunity to really understand how the world works in a local community. I mean, that's about as ground level as you're going to get.
It is, and when I ran, I was going to change the world overnight. And when you get in office, you find out that it doesn't work that way. The wheels of government turn really slow. And I'm the type of person that likes to get things done yesterday. And so I've learned the last 6.5 years, I've had the opportunity to learn a lot, and it puts things into perspective to me, or for me. And I was the type of person before, if I was in this position, I would do this and I would do that. But ultimately, you learn that everything doesn't happen overnight in the political world, and you have to get in the trenches and you have to work hard to accomplish anything. But we're blessed to live in the city of Biloxi. I think it's a great place. I know you live in Biloxi as well, and you have a beautiful view where you live. But we're truly blessed, and I've said this many times. I believe that the Gulf Coast is a gem, and if you look at it and you say, "Man, we've got it going on," but I believe that the Gulf Coast has so much untapped potential, and I believe that the way that we bring that potential to reality is by working together. And that's one of the things that I've tried to do from day one, is to be somebody that worked with everyone, even if we don't always agree, work with everyone to try to accomplish the greatest things that we can for our community.
Listen, I enjoy my conversations with Fofo Gillich. I mean, he's been on the show countless times. He was a friend long before he even ran for office. He's a monomaniac on a mission. He really defines what a lot of mayors are across coastal Mississippi. They found tremendous success in their lives, and they didn't have to be mayor, but they wanted to be mayor. They wanted to be able to give back. But folks having a good time. But the fact is that Biloxi is really important to Mississippi. If you think about Mississippi, coastal Mississippi being an economic engine for Mississippi, with Ingalls and Chevron on one side as a bookend, and then Stennis with all the blue chip industries that are part of Stennis as a bookend on the other, and in between all that's happening, especially as it relates to hospitality and tourism and all of those segments. Then you start to think about casinos and the gaming revenue and taxes that are being paid, state taxes and local state taxes that are being paid by casinos, and start to really get your head around the role that Biloxi plays in helping keep sort of the tourism income for the state healthy. I mean, it's not to short circuit Hancock County or Gulfport with this terrific casino they have there, Rick Carter and Terry Green's Island View. But just think about what kind of revenue you're generating in Biloxi, billions of dollars. When you sit on the city council, you see the smallest things in a community, and like litter and garbage collection and those kinds of things that need to get done right. And then you also see the scope and scale of something like billions of dollars worth of gaming revenue. You really see the spectrum. Listen, I didn't realize we're to the end of this segment, but when we get back on the other side, I'll give you an opportunity to sort of respond about this vast array of issues that you get a chance to say grace over as a councilman in Biloxi. And while at the same time sort of understanding the role that Biloxi plays to keep our state healthy, literally, it's that important. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Nathan Barrett. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to the Citizens Bank studio. I have my guest, Nathan Barrett, someone I've really enjoyed getting to know. Nathan and I have exchanged texts and messengers on Facebook for quite a while, actually. He's someone who pays close attention to the show, and we'll chat about various topics along the way. And this is actually you weren't actually, when we started our little conversations, you weren't even on the city council at that time, Nathan, I don't believe.
Yeah, I'm not sure when we started talking. I was elected in 2017, so yeah. I know that we've been having conversations for quite some time.
Yeah, you were on. You were definitely on by them, because we didn't start the show the 2020. But it's been great to get to know you better. And as I said when we went to the break, as a councilman in Biloxi, you have the most minute local issues you might be involved in, but then you've got sort of this global representation that you have to say grace over. That I believe, I mean, really, if Biloxi's not doing well in the gaming arena and the hospitality arena, then the state's not doing well. And you guys grasp that, don't you?
Yes, and Biloxi is an economic engine. It's amazing that the amount of people and the amount of money that comes through our city. And one of the things I like to tell people, when I was elected, I was elected, went into office July 1st of 2017. And October 1st, you have to have your budget in for your new fiscal year. So we immediately went into budget talks, and our first budget was around $54 million, 54 point something $million. And this year we approved a budget of $74 million. So in 6 years, we have had almost a 30% increase in revenue that's generated. We're like a three-legged stool. Our revenue is generated. Most cities have two main revenues, and that's going to be sales tax and ad valorem tax. But we have that gaming tax as that third leg. And it's just amazing the amount of money and the amount of growth that we've seen in the last 6 years, 30%. And that's not typical of most municipalities with a 50,000 person residency. It's just population for a 50,000, a city with a population of 50,000 people. That's not something that you normally see. And it affects not just the Gulf Coast, but it affects the entire state. The Gulf Coast as a whole does. The Gulf Coast makes up about 15% of the population, and we generate over 35% of the revenue for the state of Mississippi. And so as the Gulf Coast goes, so goes Mississippi.
Boy, how well I know, and I say it that way all the time. As a resident of Biloxi, I can attest to the fact that just as a citizen, things run pretty smoothly. I mean, they just do. I've Willie is I guess Waste Management, right? Is that who you are contracts with? Waste Management.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah. So Willie, he drives a truck for Waste Management. His family's from Greenville, and over the years, I've had the same guy for I can't tell you how long, and he comes through every Thursday. And if I see him, I'll go out and bring him a Gatorade. We bring, I give him or Ann and I give him a Christmas present every year. He'll get out of his truck and shake my hand, and we talk about the Mississippi Delta and how life is going. Man, we love Willie. I mean, he's just such a great guy, wonderful representation. But the garbage collection, it comes through like it's supposed to, and as far as the bigger stuff is concerned, you can set your clock to them as well. But the basic services of a city, I mean, that's what makes the world go around. You got to make those things happen for the citizens so they can worry about getting on with their lives. When they have to worry about those basics, then it just kind of messes them up. And if something's not going right, you're the first to hear about it, aren't you?
Yes, sir. And that's one of the things I said. The quickest way that you can get unelected is by not keeping the roads fixed, and the ditches cleaned out, and offer good public safety. And I think that that's the basics of local public service. And as a local public servant, you're closer to the people than at any level. And so you take the phone calls and you answer the emails and the Facebook messages and the citizens at City Hall. When they're not happy, they show up and they let you know. And so staying on top of those things are very important. And I believe that if you take care of those things, everything else takes care of itself. But the basic things, like you said, keeping the trash off the roads, keeping the roads the paved, the potholes fixed, the ditches cleaned out, things of that nature. And it's been a challenge, to be honest with you, the last few years, because we have faced a problem with being able to fully staff our workforce. And I know it's not something that's exclusive to Biloxi. That's something that everybody's seeing. But in a city where we have such a large area, just the Ward 7 area, everything north of the river, basically, in the city of Biloxi makes up about 55% of the landmass in Biloxi. And if you don't have enough staff, especially that area is more rural than the southern part of Biloxi, if you don't have enough staff to keep up the mowing and the ditches and the litter and stuff like that, it can catch up to you real quick. So it's been a challenge sort of juggling all that the last several years, especially since COVID, with staffing issues, not being able to fully staff all of our departments.
Hey, listen, I've really enjoyed getting to know leadership in the fire department, leadership in the police department. What it takes to be a fireman or a policeman today, the standards are much higher than it used to be. And I can't imagine a young person becoming a policeman these days because they almost have to be a lawyer. And the process of hiring is much more rigorous, and the training is incredibly rigorous. And we're lucky to have good leadership in both the fire department and the police department. But, it's like anything else, whether you run a business or a city, you got to pay attention to the details. You have to have not only your goals for the year, but you have to have the goals over the next couple of years, because things are constantly changing, and you have to be aware of what's changing, and you got to stay on top of that. And then on top of that, you have a city like Biloxi that's growing. I mean, if you look at downtown Biloxi, there's basically no commercial real estate available in downtown Biloxi now. You got so much exciting things happening. People are betting the ranch. They're spending tens of millions of dollars on Biloxi as we speak because they're committed and believe in the future of the city. And that's awesome to see, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And as you know, for many years, that Howard Avenue area was basically vacant. And over just the last several 4 years or so, Howard Avenue from Porter all the way to Main Street has just exploded. And it started with just a few people investing. and Lee Young and his group came in and bought the buildings there in the Vue Marché, which is now called the district, and then you had multiple people on Howard Avenue open up businesses, and it's just sort of been a domino effect. Dixie Newman opened Jacked Up Coffee. Right next door, you had the Biloxi Bicycle Shop open up. And then it's just sort of from there, it's just all the way down that 5 or 6, 8 blocks. Machado Patano came in and renovated the old Murkiston Hall building. And so it's just been a domino effect, really. And I think that it's going to continue to grow because, like you said, all the real estate has been bought up on that corridor. And so what's going to happen is just going to continue to spread. And that's from that center and continue to grow. And it's a great thing to see the progress that's been made in that area of downtown Biloxi.
You see Jordan Nico with the Nico Restaurant Group and Ivan Spinner and, again,
Yes.
many others. It's really great to see. And it's something we pushed really hard after Hurricane Katrina. It took a while to everybody to start to get their heads around it. But the notion of mixed use, that, the more people that we could have come live downtown and have it, live, peacefully with commercial development that's taking place, restaurants and bars or whatever, that you would bring life back to the city. And then what's so interesting about that, so that's happening organically now with all the investment that's happening. But then with the Beau Rivage and Hard Rock right there close by, people can walk and participate. And I mean, it just creates a vibrant feel to it. And what's interesting, I say this all the time, but each community of coastal Mississippi, whether we're talking about Waveland or Moss Point or Pascagoula or Bay St. Louis or Ocean Springs or Long Beach or Pasco Shan, all of them, they each have their own unique sense of place. And what's happening in Biloxi is unique to Biloxi, and it's continuing to evolve, and the vibrancy continues to get put on grow exponentially. And that's what makes these collection of communities, each again with their own sense of place, is what makes coastal Mississippi so amazing. I mean, and the other thing I love about it is that somebody who visits a restaurant in Bay St. Louis, they're urged to go to Ocean Springs or to Biloxi to experience that. That's great to see. The role that Biloxi's playing in that is significant, and it didn't play a significant role for a long period of time. If we're beginning to see that happen now. Hey, why don't we do this, Nathan? I'll give you a chance to respond when we get on the other side, but we're visiting with Nathan Barrett. He's a newly elected supervisor, actually, for the Harrison County Board of Supervisors, and he's a current councilman for the city of Biloxi. We're just getting to know him better. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. I have Councilman Nathan Barrett with me today, someone I've really enjoyed getting to know over the years, and most recently elected to District 5 for the Board of Supervisors. Excited about that. I mean, good leadership and new blood is good. I don't care what the situation is. It's always good to kind of go in different directions, and I'm excited about Nathan joining the Harrison County Board of Supervisors. But before we went to break, we were just talking about this unique sense of place that Biloxi brings and how it adds to sort of the incredible destination feel for coastal Mississippi. You were going to comment about that.
Yeah, so Biloxi is a great place, and I know we focused a lot on Biloxi, but I believe that all of the cities along our coast complement each other. And one of the great things about the coast is someone that's not from here, they really don't know when they leave one city and go to the next, because the drivability is just, it's unique. It's a unique situation that most areas don't have. Cities are separated from each other. And so to have that, I believe it complements each other. And I celebrate when something good happens in Ocean Springs, and I celebrate when something good happens in Gulfport or Long Beach or Pass Christian, and just moving along the coast, because I don't think that when someone comes here and visits, sure, when you have somebody that comes in for a day, they stay in one city. But when you have somebody that comes here and visits for 4 or 5 days, I don't believe that they just stay in one city. I believe that they look and see what's available. And so the complement that each one brings, Biloxi, we have a lot of family entertainment and casinos, but Ocean Springs and Bay St. Louis has a feel that's unique to those cities, and people want to experience that. And so I believe that the compliment that each city brings to the collective Gulf Coast is a very unique thing, and it just makes it attractive to visitors and as well as the locals. I live in Biloxi, but I don't stay in Biloxi. I go eat in Ocean Springs at the great restaurants. I go to Gulfport, and so I believe that the people who come and visit the Gulf Coast do the same things. And so whenever one of the cities do well, I believe that it's great for all the cities, that it's that it brings progress and growth to all of us here on the Gulf Coast.
Listen, over 80% of the people who visit coastal Mississippi from other areas come here in their cars. So they don't see city lines. They don't see county lines. They're just trying to take it all in. And it's a really a great experience. Listen, what made you decide to run for supervisor?
Well, to be honest, I was perfectly happy where I was and where I'm at. Today is my last city council meeting as a Biloxi city councilman at 1:30 today. I love the city of Biloxi. I love what I do, but I am, I've served most of my life. I've served. And whenever I started having people call me the middle of 2022 and said, Nathan, we want you to run. And I'm like, I'm not interested. And the calls kept coming. And I said, I'm not interested. And the calls kept coming. And eventually I said, I'll look at it. And I started talking to people. And someone told me that, Nathan, if you really want to serve, you need to go where you're most needed. And so after praying and talking to my family and visiting with a lot of community leaders, I decided to jump in, because I do want to do whatever I can to make where we live and work, and as you say, play, a better place for everybody. I have 2 young children, and I'm tired of seeing our young people move to Nashville and Austin, Texas, whenever they graduate college to go get jobs. And so I believe working to help bring economic development, not just economic development, but quality economic development that's attractive to young college graduates, that make them want to come here instead of moving to Texas or to Nashville, Tennessee. And that's one of the things I plan to really focus on on the Board of Supervisors. And one of the things that I think is unique about myself is I have great relationships with all the local leadership across, all 5 mayors in Harrison County, but also in the other. I'm great friends with Kenny Holloway in Ocean Springs, and so working and going over into Hancock County, I have great friends over there, and then I'm connected on a state level as well. And so working to bring quality economic development to the Gulf Coast that can bring those high-paying tech jobs and things like that here. I really want to focus on that, and I'm a firm believer that you look for a way to make it happen instead of finding excuses for it not to happen. And that's, I just, after setting back, originally I wasn't going to run for this seat, just being completely transparent, but looking at the impact that I could have, the positive impact after talking to multiple people, I decided that it was the best step.
Well, listen, I'm excited about you coming into this position, and I'm not going to draw you in because we're out of time, but the pettiness and infighting that has too often sort of personified the Board of Supervisors in Harrison County. I think a lot of that's going to be behind us, and we can move forward. We got two new supervisors that are joining us. We got too much opportunity in front of us. We got to focus on those opportunities. We got to do our homework and fight the good fights, but not fight the fights we don't need to be fighting. It's just silly. And I look forward to following you in your new role. Congratulations on getting elected, and we look forward to staying in touch with you once you get into that new position.
All right. Well, I appreciate the opportunity today, and I hope that you have a great hunting trip this week.
Thank you, man. I'm looking forward to it. This has been Nathan Barrett, and we'll be staying in touch with him from this point forward. We look forward to doing that. Hey, listen, have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.